Hello everyone, I am the Lore Explorer and this is a very special episode to me. I had to delve deep on this expedition and put on my dang rain boots. I was able to get an interview with Alex Beachum, lead developer of Outer Wilds. He agreed to field some questions over email for me. Though the eye of the universe was off limits, I am very happy to be solving some mysteries while unveiling others. This whole interview will be riddled with spoilers, so if you haven't finished the game, you should probably click off now. How this will go is, I'll read the question I sent, then I'll read the answer Alex wrote back, but there will be a picture of his face on the screen so you know exactly when he's talking. Some of the questions he had help from his team, but I'll still just show his face. Then, I may comment on the answers. So for example, I asked Alex about how long is the natural Nomai lifespan. The response was, much longer than a Hearthian lifespan, although it's hardly a fair contest considering Hearthians' general disregard for their personal safety. We are looking at you, Feldspar. But anyway, I like that answer. It always seemed to me Hearthians had a similar lifespan to humans, as most ages seem depicted throughout, like children and middle-aged and elderly, but it's good to know that Nomai led long, healthy lives. So I tried to start off pretty simple. The Hourglass twins had solar panels. How was the Hanging City powered? Perhaps the answer lies not above, but below. This must mean the Nomai were able to harness the raw energy from the black holes. My next question was about the Black Hole Forge. I always imagined it as a spoon scooping out a mini black hole, but he assured me there were no spoons involved. He went on to add, black holes are just warped space-time. But the forge does lower the cores to expose them to the horizon of the black hole. So now, I imagine a casing attached to the tip of the forge, just about dipping in. Next, I asked about gravity crystals, if the Nomai discovered or invented them on Brittle Hollow. He said, there's a spot in the old settlements where the Nomai crafted the first gravity crystals. They are refined from natural crystals on Brittle, which have latent gravitational properties. Then, in parentheses, he put, that black hole isn't there randomly. Which, I mean, you can't ask for a better answer than that. That's just awesome. The gravitational properties of just Brittle Hollow's just crust and natural resources, that's just amazing. I love it. The next two sort of run together. I asked how the orbital probe cannon and how the sun station got to the speed that they needed to orbit the planet and the sun. He said it'll likely remain a mystery, but I give them a pass on this one as it's not important. And the same idea with the White Hole Station. Who really cares how it just stays there? Another question I had was about the Sunless City and how they kept the sand out. The response was, the giant doors to the Sunless City used to keep the sand out. And luckily, the Nomai still had a way in and out with a cheeky spot that was up by the surface. I also wondered if young Nomai would go to where Coleus discovered quantum entanglement to learn about the subject. He said yes, but they chose not to make an explicit reference at the site to avoid confusion about order of events. I don't blame them, the game can be confusing enough. I also asked what the Nomai did with their trash. Unsurprisingly, the Nomai generated minimal trash and recycled just about everything. I couldn't help but ask how ghost matter kills us. The response I got was, it's an exotic particle that clearly interacts poorly with life forms, though water seems to negate it. Next up were questions about Dark Bramble. I asked if Dark Bramble originated in the Hearthian solar system. I expected a solid no, but surprisingly he said, maybe. Or maybe a seed from a distant planet found its way across the void to the water planet it shattered. That seems much more likely to me. To me, it seems Bramble's original seed came from an already fully fledged bramble plant, somewhere far out in the universe. A follow-up was if the seed on Timber Hearth came from Bramble. That was a solid yes. But I wasn't done with Bramble. I told him I noticed portals we can't really get to in Dark Bramble, and I asked him whether or not they may lead to other bramble plants. Which led me to one of my favorite answers. Dark Bramble has grown into multiple worlds that are all connected by weird, extra-dimensional root systems. Known worlds include Timber Hearth, the unnamed ocean world, now frozen and shattered, and Elsinore Castle. If I had to guess, I'd bet there are entire solar systems solely populated by this horror of a plant, Bramble. I also had to ask about the ocean life in the solar system. I asked if both anglers and jellyfish originated from the planet Bramble destroyed. This was another cool answer. The jellyfish are for sure, but the anglerfish might be from Bramble or some other world it has infected. This is likely how the centipedes made its way to the dark Bramble we see as well. I also asked about how the angler's skeleton got to Ember Twin. He said, word for word, it's possible all anglerfish are originally from Ember Twin, as it used to have water, but it's also possible one anglerfish lost its way and traveled there from dark Bramble. I had never even thought of the possibility that anglers could come from Ember Twin, but I love the idea. The anglerfish would have to migrate as the planet dries out from the sun, and they may have went to dark Bramble to survive. I was also interested into how scroll walls work. I asked if the Nomai scroll walls were like bulletin boards where anybody can come up at any time and add their 2 cents, or rather a group of Nomai gathered around recording a discussion. He said probably a bit of both, but definitely the former. That means some time would pass between each entry on a Nomai scroll wall. With a lot of my simpler questions out of the way, I figured I'd push my luck and ask him more in detail or in-depth questions, knowing that he could just not answer. So let's start with some of the big ones that people don't really think about, sometimes anyway. Are we the same Hearthian every time we wake up? Unsurprisingly, he said, up for debate. He added, it partially depends on whether the act of time travel rewrites the past completely, or creates a new parallel timeline. I'd argue they are a new parallel timeline every time we wake up, but I have no real exact evidence of it directly, so we'll just have to leave it up in the air. I also wanted to know in which order the Hearthians joined the Outer Wilds ventures. Alex said this response was from Kelsey Beachum, the writer for Outer Wilds. She said the order in which they joined was Slate, Feldspar, Gaussen, then Esker, Hornfels, Chert, Rebic, Gabbro, and then, of course, us. When I made my video profiling their ships, I had guessed Gabbro launched before Rebic, but I appear to have been wrong. But this actually kind of makes some sense, because Slate is the one that loves rockets, and Feldspar would definitely be the first one to jump on it, and Gaussen probably just didn't want them both to kill themselves, so that's how that happened, I'm guessing. Next up, I asked for a simple timeline for the Nomai. He said the major timeline breakdown is loosely as follows: shipwrecked in the solar system, settlements constructed, reinvention of spaceflight, which were the gravity cannons, that led to the reunion of the Nomai, then their quest to land on the quantum moon, then they constructed the eye signal locators, and around that time they discovered time travel. Their next project was the construction of the ATP, and then finally the interloper arrived, and they visited there. Then, lastly, I asked about the memory statues. I said, to be sure I understand the Ash Twin project, if Slate found a statue 10 minutes after we sunk with the one we connected with, nothing would happen. Is that correct? I did not expect him to say, actually, it would activate, so long as no one has paired with it already, and it is loop 954 or whatever. I was under the impression it was sort of a one-time thing, in like the certain instant. Whoever was next to the statue in that exact moment when the probe found the eye. But I guess it extends to the whole loop. And say Feldspar stumbled into the sun station, he would be caught in a time loop just like we are, and knowing Feldspar, he would probably just try to fly his ship at it. With all of the lore questions out of the way, I asked 2 non-lore questions. First, did you expect this kind of overwhelmingly positive reaction when you released the game? He said they expected a bit of a cult following due to the alpha, but nothing on this level, and he even put a little smiley face, and that really makes me happy. You know, I'm just glad to hear that they sort of exceeded expectations, but I'm still in the camp that it deserves way more attention and following than it's getting now. The last question I asked was if they enjoyed and supported the modding community, and the response was, "We love seeing the stuff the modding community is working on." Which really doesn't surprise me. These guys are just awesome. The fact that they would take time out of their day to answer some fan questions just shows how amazing they are. Just like with this spectacular game, they go above and beyond for the community as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's definitely given me some stuff to think about. Plus, it's nice to have confirmation on some things, like water negating ghost matter. And new things, like Brittle Hollow's crust has latent gravitational properties. I would like to thank Alex Beachum for taking the time out of his day and answering these questions. It was very kind of him. Also, big thanks to Lisa Phoenix for letting me use the cool angler art. She makes all kinds of awesome art, so you guys should check her Instagram out, and there will be links in the description below. Also, I hate to do it, but I noticed a huge difference, like it actually works. In the one video I asked, 54 of you subscribed. In the next where I didn't, 3 did. So from here on, you'll likely hear shameless plugs like this one. If this video led to any theories, leave them in the comments below. And if you learned something new, give the video a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from the Lore Explorer. Thank you all for watching the video, and for now, this is Lore Explorer, hoping you enjoyed it.